Welcome to VLearn. This is session number 2 of RDBMS on Introduction of Database System. In this session, we are going to cover topics: benefits of database system, data independent, database management system facilities, data manipulation language, role of database administrator, elements of database management system, role of database manager, data dictionary, normalization, client server and multi-tier architectures, multimedia data, information integration, data definition language, commands, and introduction to transaction processing. As we previous session covered the about database management system and why we are using database. Now, what are the benefits by this database systems are they mentioned? First is the redundancy and duplications can be reduced. As we show in the previous section, जैसे कि हमारे ट्रेडिशनल फाइल अप्रोच में हमारी डुप्लीकेसी अराइज हो रही थी, that is to be overcome and solve the problem by the DBMS that does not allow the duplication of data. So you can easily get the data as per required. The second point is transaction support can be provided and as per user the transaction can be applied on the data. And the third point is security and standards can be enforced. The fourth point is conflicting requirement can be balanced. Next point is the data can be shared. And the next point is consistency can be avoided in the sum as extent. And the last point is here integrity can be maintained. What the basically here the all means आपको जैसे डाटा की हमने पहले बताया कि डुप्लीकेसी स्टॉप कर सकते हैं इसमें, ट्रांजेक्शन एज पर रिक्वायर्ड कैन हैंडल हेयर, security that can also maintain on the data that cannot be accessed by the other one, and conflicting requirement can be balanced. Sometime conflicting arise that can also be balanced here, and the data can be shared as per user requirement, and inconsistency can be avoided here. Integrity can also be maintained. Let's see in the other session the how we maintain here. एंड नेक्स्ट इज अबाउट हेयर डाटा इंडिपेंडेंट. जैसे कि आपको पिछले सेशन में बताया गया था, हमारा डाटा टू वेज में होता है. वन इज द लॉजिकल एंड द सेकेंड इज द फिजिकल. इफ वी टॉक अबाउट द लॉजिकल, दैट इज intangible, that is thinking by the user the what he think, and the physical is the where data is actually stored, is about the physical data independence. Let's see what here the mention in the slide. That is ability to modify a schema definition in one level without affecting a schema definition in the next higher level is called data independence. So independence means the which is not to be depend on the other file, that is easily flexible as used by and can be made by the user. And the physical data independence means actually the location where is data to be stored, that is also not depend on the another one. So you can easily do anything updation on that file. So it is the physically independent, that is ability to modify the physical schema. You can change any location so without causing application program to be rewritten. And about logical data independence is the ability to modify logical schema without causing application program to be rewritten. आपको जैसे बताया कि लॉजिकल इंडिपेंडेंट है, डिपेंडेंसी नहीं है, सो यू कैन इजली डू मॉडिफिकेशन एज पर रिक्वायरमेंट. एंड नेक्स्ट इज अबाउट हेयर डाटाबेस मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम फैसिलिटीज provided here on first is that is data definition language, which is in short we call DDL. In the data definition language, that is we talk about here the structure of the table and can say about the schema. We work on the structure of the table is come under here the data definition language. Here the database management system provide a facility known as the data definition language. Let's see what here is mentioned about DDL, which can be used to define conceptual schema and also give some details about how to implement this schema in the physical device used to store the data. And the next is here data manipulation language, that is DML. In the database management system, that the system maintain the information on the file structure, the method used to efficiently access the relevant data, and that is example access the method. बेसिकली इन डी एम एल, जैसे कि डी डी एल में हमें बताया वी वर्क ऑन द टेबल स्ट्रक्चर ओनली, बट इन डी एम एल वी वर्क द डिटेल विच इज एंटर इन द टेबल इस कम अंडर डी एम एल. अगर हम टेबल के अंदर इन्फॉर्मेशन जो एंटर कर रहे हैं उसकी बात करते हैं हम तो डी एम एल की बात करेंगे. Then it also provide method whereby the application program indicate their data requirements. The application program could use a subset of conceptual data definition, a language or the separate language. Next, about the database system also contain mapping function that allow it to interpret the stored data for the application program. जैसे कि आप मैपिंग मीन्स यू कैन नो एज पर टू मैनिपुलेट द डाटा, टू मैप डाटा फ्रॉम टू इंटरप्ट द स्टोर डाटा वेयर टू डाटा स्टोर एज बाय द प्रोग्राम. So in the basically in data manipulation language you work on the table where the data is to be stored and the information you talk about the rows basically you can say also in of the table where the information is to be stored and you are working on the data in the table. And the next is about the database administrator. In the previous session we explained you about the conceptual role, conceptual level where is the work of the data administrator is here. So what is here, let's see about the database administrator. There is one of the main reason of using DBMS is have to central control of both the data and process that access those data. So here the person who has such control over the system is called the database administrator. There are some elements of database management system that we used here: DML pre-compiler and DDL compiler. What is about here DML pre-compiler? It convert basically DML statements that embedded in an application program to normal procedure call in the host language. Basically it convert into the host language. As you know, you apply here the query and on that is on the structure and the data of the table by in the DML which come here. It basically the application which convert into the host language, that is the pre-compiler must interact with the query processor, because in the software you apply here query which extract the data from the table. So it convert that query into the host language in order to generate appropriate code that is required by the user. And next is about in DDL compiler. That DDL compiler that convert data definition statement into set of table. Let's see, you are applying here in the query that is an English statement, but when the query applied you see the data in the tabular form. So it convert that state of query in the form of the table. This table contain information concerning the database and are in a form that can be used by other component of DBMS. Here the one is the main thing about DBMS manager. He is not talking about any person. Basically the database typically required a large amount of storage space, and a database manager is a program module which provide the interface between the low level data stored in the database and application program and queries submitted to the system. Database manager कोई person नहीं, we are talking about here module which क्या है, वो आपका क्या है, एक इंटरफेस है बिटवीन द लो लेवल जहाँ डाटा स्टोर हो रहा है एंड एप्लीकेशन प्रोग्राम के बीच में जहाँ से हमारी क्वेरी सबमिट हो रही है. सो हियर दिस इज द हैंडल बाय द डेटाबेस मैनेजर एंड इट इज़ द responsible for interfacing with the file system, and one of the function of the database manager is to convert user query coming directly by the query processor or indirectly by an application program from the user's logical view to the physical file system. Next is about here query processor. The query processor is used to interpret the online user's query and to convert it into an efficient series of operation. Here the query processor use the data dictionary to find the structure of relevant portion of database and use this information in modifying the query and preparing an optional plan to access the database. What is here tell about the query processor? आपको जैसे बताया कि आप query apply करते हैं, that is a basic English statement that apply on the database to fetch the data as required by user and insert data as well. So queries processor check the query what you apply here, maybe some mistake can also be find out. So it check what the user apply query is there and something error, and it to be work and to provide actual data is sent by the that query is to be handled by the here query processor. Next is here database administrator. The one of the main reason of let's say we are covering again here about database administrator. We say previously that it manage and control over the database. So something over more here, that reason having database management system to have control for that both data and program that assigning the data. The person such control is about database administrator, and there are the some function that is under the database administrator are here schema definition, and that is creation of original database schema, and this is accomplished by writing a set of definition which are translated by the DDL compiler to a set of tables. Schema definition, as you know, we are talking term of the table structure. सो जैसे कि आपको प्रीवियस सेशन में हमने दिखाया था थ्री लेवल ऑफ थ्री लेवल ऑफ व्यू में हमने देखा था कि व्हाट इज द हेयर इंटरनल एंड कॉन्सेप्चुअल स्कीमा. सो हेयर कॉन्सेप्चुअल definition, here the schema definition that creation of the original database schema, and that is accomplished by writing set of definition which are translated by DDL compiler, as we said you in about previous slide about DDL compiler, a set of tables, and the storage structure and access method definition here, that creation of appropriate storage structure and access method. So this is accomplished by writing a set of definition which are translated by data storage and definition language compiler. So this storage structure also handled by here database administrator. So about where the data stored and to translate data storage, and about the definition language compile. So these are the work under the database administrator. Next is also here some more are here the schema and physical organization modification, that is either to be modification of the database schema or description of physical storage organization. नेक्स्ट इज ग्रांटिंग ऑथराइजेशन, हमारी किस किस यूजर को कौन सी परमिशन देनी है डाटा एक्सेस करने की, दैट इज ऑल्सो हैंडल्ड बाय एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव लेवल, that authorization of data access to various user of the database. And the next is integrity constraint specification. These constraints are kept in a special system, the structure that is consulted by database manager whenever one of the valuable and the tool that the database administrator use to carry out data administration in that data dictionary. So this was the role of database administrator. Next is the here data dictionary. Data dictionary, here the simple dictionary meaning. What contain in the dictionary? Information about the word, yeah, basically word meaning you say. In the database here the data dictionary that contain information about the data. Data dictionary or dictionary that is engineered in the major tool. Here inventory provide definition of things that directly tell you where to find them, and the data directory that contain information about the data, and a comprehensive data dictionary would provide the definition of data item, how they fit into data structure, and how they relate to other entities in the database. जैसे कि आपको डायरेक्शन बताया कि हमारे वर्ड्स की और वर्ड की डाटा की इंफॉर्मेशन सेट है दैट यू कैन सी हियर, एंड द डाटाबेस एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर यूज द डाटा डिक्शनरी that is used by database administrator. Then every phase of the database, that is life cycle, starting from the embryonic and the data gathering phase to the design, implementation and maintenance phase, that is all work is handled by the database administrator. Is of about the data dictionary. that the user apply, that all information that is to be get matches by the data and the query word that is also to be matched by the data dictionary that is only managed by here the database administrator. Next is here about the normalization that we use in the RDBMS. The main role of here normalization that make easiest to use the table to fetch the data as per requirement. So in the normalization, the process of normalization transformation data into forms that conform to the relational model. मीन्स इट बेसिकली ट्रांसफर करता है डाटा को हमारे मोस्ट सिंपलेस्ट फॉर्म में. इट बेसिकली डिवाइड द टेबल इनटू सब पार्ट. दैट्स व्हाई वी कैन इजीली इंसर्ट एंड अपडेट डाटा and delete as well. So normalized data that enable RDBMS to enforce integrity rule, that is the main thing here, and guarantee the consistency and optimize data access. And learning how to normalize data takes significant time and practice. Next is here client server and multi-tier architecture. About this technology that is in the computer architecture used in almost all automated library system now being offered to the libraries. That is very simple definition that we say client server is a computer architecture that divide function into client and server subsystem and with the standard communication method to facilitate the sharing of information between them. And among the characteristics of client server architecture, as they see this diagram that show you here the client and there is the client of various the system accessing data from here. This is there the server. As you know from internet there is the server connected and your system that is fetching data from the server is the client. So there is a network that is the cloud shown here, an internet backbone. The if you apply data and you can fetch data from the ISP Ethernet link with the internet backbone with the server. So data is to be first that Netscape browser. The user, as you know, आपने इंटरनेट अगर एक्सेस किया आप ब्राउजर ओपन करते हैं, कोई भी इंटरनेट एक्सप्लोरर ओपन करते हैं on the system, that system linked with the ISP through this internet, and from this internet that connected with the server through which you can fetch data as needed by you. So there are the basically characteristic of the client server. The client and server can be distinguished from one another by the difference in the task by they perform. The client and server usually operate on different computer platform and either the client or server may be upgraded without affecting the other client, make contact to one or more servers. Server make contact to multiple clients concurrently, and client always initiate dialogue by requesting a service. This was the about you can see characteristics of the client server. Next is here multimedia data. This is the basically in front of you the diagram is mentioned of the multimedia data. I would like to tell you a basic introduction of multimedia data. Let's see, there was a weblicon that has to be built on the multi-tier architecture to support high scalability throughout the load balancing and high availability through redundancy. There is basically an HTTP client tier communicate with the HTTP server tier, which routes incoming request to the application server tier, and the application server tier that connect to the database server tier consisting of RDBMS and they are the various server. All tier can be scaled individually by building clusters of servers for load balancing and high redundancy embedding information into multimedia data that should be imperceptible but unmemorable. So this diagram in front of you that show here the level. One is the application interface, the second is the business logic, and the third is asset repository. And here this is the basically the asset digital where the data is to be stored and that link with the business logic, and they're the team that business services to be handled with the database interface here. And this logic provided with the servlet engine web browser. This web browser is application interface, the browser that you open the browser, Internet Explorer, Mozilla, Firefox. These are the application browser through which you can go to the service engine, and there are some business terms services also provide, and they are with the asset repository. So this was the way of the multimedia data. Next is here information integration. In the information integration is the important feature of the Oracle 9i of the database. Basically, Oracle is another software that you use for the database to access the data and manage data. That Oracle provide many features that allow customer to synchronously and asynchronously integrate their data, including Oracle Stream, Oracle Advantages Querying, Application and Distributed SQL. हेयर द वैसे कि आपने एसक्यूएल या बहुत सारे डेटाबेस सॉफ्टवेयर सुने हैं, एमएस एक्सेस है, एसक्यूएल सर्वर, माइस्क्यूएल है, साइबेस है, इंटीरियर है एंड ओरेकल है. दीज आर द सॉफ्टवेयर विच यू यूज फॉर इन द डाटाबेस. So Oracle Stream also enable the progression and management of data, transaction and even in the data stream, either with the database or from one database to another. So streamed out published information on subscribed destination to the result is a new feature that provides greater functionality and flexibility of the than the traditional solution for capturing and managing event and sharing the event for with the all database and application. So the information integration is the combination of here the various facilities that is provide to the user to easily access the data. Let's see the here some data definition language command that we can use here. As I told you about DDL, that is about the DDL contain the queries which work on the structure of table. जैसे आपको हमने DML बताया था, DML हम जब टेबल के अंदर कुछ इन्फॉर्मेशन इंसर्ट करते हैं, अपडेट करते हैं, डिलीट करते हैं, तो दोज क्वेरी कम अंडर द DML. बट सम क्वेरी जो हम टेबल स्ट्रक्चर के ऊपर वर्क करते हैं, टेबल के स्ट्रक्चर से लिंक होती है, दैट इज डाटा डेफिनेशन लैंग्वेज. सो देयर इज अ टेबल इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू. Let's please that's a view over about those command we come under the data definition language. Let's in short I take the name here: command alter table, create comment, create index, create module, create range check, create. Here again some queries related with the create only word. You see here the create replication, replicate table. So these are the create view triggers, the whatever you are creating here. So you see easily here the create query, and next is to display query. Next again more here display query, drop query that come under the DDL. DDL table structure के अंदर आपकी सारी queries आती हैं. Next is here the introduction to transaction processing, that is a single user versus the multi user system. जब हम डाटाबेस में डाटा एक्सेस करने की बात करते हैं तो आपको उसको डाटाबेस को एक यूज़र भी एक्सेस कर सकता है और एक से ज़्यादा भी कर सकते हैं. तो द वन क्राइटेरिया टू क्लासीफाई डाटाबेस इज अकॉर्डिंग टू द नंबर ऑफ यूज़र एंड कॉन्करेंटली कॉन्टेक्ट टू द सिस्टम. अगर हमारा डाटाबेस में एक साथ बहुत सारे यूज़र डाटा को एक्सेस करेंगे तो अगर प्रॉब्लम्स अराइज होती हैं. सो लेट्स सी इन द स्लाइड दैट शो द सिंगल यूज़र, ओनली वन यूज़र यूज सिस्टम एट ईच टाइम, एंड मल्टी यूज़र मैनी यूज़र यूज सिस्टम इन द सेम टाइम. Here the some queries are about related with the transaction. Let's see here that what is the transaction is that executing program that perform a logical unit of database processing. A transaction include one or more database access operation. The database operation can be embedded with an application or can be specified by high level query language and specified boundary by begin and end transaction statement. This is the way through which you can create the transaction from the begin to end point. And if database operation the transaction do not update the database, so it is called only read only transaction. ट्रांजेक्शन में हमारी जब एक टाइम पे जब डाटा को एक्सेस किया जाता है, प्रोग्राम एग्जीक्यूट होते हैं, तो उस टाइम अगर मोर देन यूज़र एक साथ राइट ऑपरेशन अप्लाई करते हैं तो प्रॉब्लम्स क्रिएट होती हैं. सो इट शुड बी ओनली व्हेन वन इज द एग्जीक्यूटिंग डाटा, तो अनदर कैन बी ओनली इन द रीड ओनली ट्रांजेक्शन. So this is the in front of you example of the transaction, that TI is the transaction that apply the read A and withdraw. A is the some account from which the transaction withdraw some amount, that is A minus 5,000, means the value is to be changed now. So where the value is updated by the right A, and the B is from the another account in which the value is to be updated by the increment of the 5,000 on the account B. So there the transaction is made here by on the account A and B. This was about the basic information of the transaction. This is the exercise in front of you that you can do it by yourself. First is explain client server and multi-tier architecture. and explain the element of database management system. This is all about of today's session. Now we are winding up here. Thank you so much. Happy learning. We learn.